Well, see, that's where I feel like I'm a true nerd, because there's like 3 things that I can obsess over, and there's other things I'm interested in, but there's 3 things that you can ask me anything about it, and I got it. I got it. You asked me some random-ass Star Wars question, I fucking got it.
Cool. When did Return of the Jedi come out?
1980... New Hope was 1978. I want to say Empire Strikes Back was 1980. Maybe 82.
Okay. I had no idea. That's a random question.
Well, that was a dick move.
Yep, that's me. Dick move number 1. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast, episode 35. It's me, a.k.a. Enigma 911 Bret, once again with Kevin, Paddywhack 1993. We are coming to you live from twitch.tv/Enigma911, where you can watch this podcast every first and third Saturday of the month at 8 p.m. Eastern. If you have topics for the show, feel free to comment them down below or join our Discord and put that in the specific tab itself. We are also brought to you guys by the merch store. That is our sponsor today. You get all of your Enigma 911 swag, t-shirts, backpacks, and more over there, and support the stream and support the channel. Alright, so topics today. We got a buttload of them. Not really. But we got one that will be a good one, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, that's about it. Kevin! What's your topic?
Jace.
Year off, 1980.
Damn.
Ooh, real.
Wait, for Return of the Jedi, really?
Pre-show shit.
I don't know. Alright, well, good to know.
Yep.
I guess because like your topic and my topic kind of somewhat go together, I guess I'll do my little mini topic.
Sure.
To go into it.
I'm down with that.
So Christmas is an awesome time of year. I don't know if you've noticed the same thing or if anybody on the chat's noticed the same thing, but it seems like people just get a little nicer towards each other around Christmas time. Maybe the good feelings, or I don't know. But I heard a couple of stories of people just doing really nice things this time of year, and I think it's good to hear these kinds of things, because I know, like, I get... I was close. I was a year off still, but I got the 1980 for Empire Strikes Back, right?
There you go.
So, there was a story of a woman I saw on Facebook, actually. Her daughter was born like wicked premature, and she has like lung issues, not cancer, but like real bad lung, like maybe her lungs didn't develop enough or something before she was born. So this girl's like maybe a year and a half, 2 years old. She's a cute little thing, and everywhere she goes, she has to have an oxygen tank, like you see the smoker people have. So the mom has to take her all over the country for different medical procedures, and it's just like, it just sounds absolutely terrible. And I can't remember what the story was, but the dad isn't in the picture. Like I don't know if he passed away or something, but so it was just the mom and the little girl.
Yep.
So they were getting on a flight to somewhere in the U.S. for a medical procedure, and this poor little girl, I wish I had a picture of her, but she's just like cute as a button, you know, and she's got the oxygen, like, you know, nose tube or whatever. And so when you're, I think, under 2 on an airplane, and you're with your parent, they only have to buy 1 ticket because you're small enough where you can be on their lap or whatever. So the mom and the daughter go to the, you know, wherever their seat was in the back of the plane, and the stewardess comes up to him and says, one of the passengers in first class saw the little girl with the oxygen tank and everything, and they requested to trade seats with the mom and the little girl so that they would be in a more comfortable seat and everything. And the mom just starts breaking down crying, you know, and she got to say thank you to the guy, but he didn't really want any attention. He just wanted to give up his seat, which, I mean, I've flown first class before. That's an expensive ticket, and this guy just out of the goodness of his heart just gave it up, and that was I read that was pretty touching. Forrest Gump, you remember Lieutenant Dan?
I have not seen the movie, but sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah. As Lady will attest, Bret does not see any movies.
Well, the guy who played Lieutenant Dan is an actor named Gary Sinise.
Okay.
He's done like a bunch of other movies, like Apollo 13. Like he's pretty successful TV career now too. I want to say he was on like CSI, New York or whatever. Anyway, he just bought, I think, 1,500 military vets' families that are like on deployment. He bought them tickets to go to Disney World or Land or whichever one it was for the holidays. Just said they had something fun to do while their father or mother or whoever is overseas on deployment, and that was just, that's, again, we're talking about 1,500 families. That's probably a couple thousand more tickets.
Oh yeah.
That was real nice to. I don't know. It was real nice to hear. And then there was something else I was thinking of. I saw when I was flying back from South Carolina, I had a layover in Baltimore, so I went to go get something to eat, and there was a guy seated near me in the food court, probably about our age by the look of him, blind. He's got the that finder stick that they have, or feeler stick, and this poor guy is, he's by himself, which I've seen, blind people traveling before, but they've usually got somebody with them to guide them around. This poor guy's by himself. And I noticed a couple of things that were really cool. When he finished up eating, he was like gonna throw away his like McDonald's bag or whatever. Somebody came over and grabbed the bag to throw it out for him. Said he didn't have to try and go find this garbage can in the middle of this airport, which I can only imagine has to be like finding a needle in a haystack like that.
Yeah.
And then two, there was one point where he had to to get to his gate, he had to go down a flight of stairs. And, handled it like a champ, felt the edge of this, stairs, started reaching for the handrail and whatnot. But I noticed all these passengers that were going to other gates, clearly going to other gates, saw him going down the stairs, and they kind of just formed around him a little bit, not to not to help him like in like the here, you can't do this yourself, but they stood by just in case, to grab him or something. It was just like these people were I could see them before this happened. They were rushing to flights, and they all took time out to kind of watch this guy go down the stairs. And I don't know, it's just little things. It's nice to see people, I don't know, just being human, like in a good way, because like so many times he's like I know, like when I was traveling back home from school, sometimes I'd be like in uniform and everything, I'd be walking around the Penn Station there, and people would like be running for trains or whatever, and they bump into you and they knock anything you have in your hand like out of your hands onto the ground, and they just keep going out like an I'm sorry or anything like that. And it's just like, come on, like you can't stop for 1 second to help me pick up this crap that I just dropped, but I don't know, it's just really nice to hear people doing good things for people around this time of year. It just kind of restores my faith in humanity when I'm usually convinced that 80% of them are just tools, to say the least. So yeah, just I guess the last thing of that little mini segment is, if there's anything you can do this holiday season to lend somebody a hand, or be there for somebody, or just do anything, I used to go to finish this off, I went to when I was a kid and we were in Lake George for the summer, we used to go to a church in Bolton Landing, which is right like maybe like 10 miles up the lake or so. And they had a quote on the church bulletin or whatever that I used to really love, and it said something like, unless somebody somewhere offers a caring ear or a helping hand, somebody else may lose the will to live, or something like that. And the message is, the little things that we do to help people could be the thing that, I don't know, gets them through their day.
Yeah.
Because, you see guys like Robin Williams. Man, that took me by surprise. Because this guy, and maybe it's just an act, what he puts on publicly, but that guy was always happy, always laughing. Like, just when you heard that guy got to the point where he gave up, I'm like, man, if that guy is somebody, it can happen to anybody. So the more really good things we do for the people we run into, interact with, you have no idea what that one nice thing you did could really do. Just keep that in mind for the holidays, guys.
Yeah, I mean, that could I mean, holidays are great, but anytime, honestly.
Yeah.
And, sometimes the smallest things that go the farthest, and, like, sometimes you just gotta be a little bit more patient with each other. Like, if somebody's in a rush, not being upset with them, or, like, okay, traffic. Like, sometimes there's always somebody that needs to get somewhere. Like, okay, we're not trying to hold you back on purpose. We're all on the same, like, we're in traffic, we're doing what? A little patience. I understand you need to get somewhere, but everybody does too. It'll work out. But if you rush it, sometimes things happen, and they're not intended to happen, and it can be worse. Like, so there's that, and yeah, like you said, just the small things, like even just saying have a good day or whatever. Like, back to the holidays thing, like, kind of gonna tie religion into it, and I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, but when someone says Merry Christmas to you, whenever I hear it, as someone who has practiced the, Christian faith, whatever, I never take it that way. I'm like, it's kind of like a have a good day kind of thing. Like, if someone said it to me, I wouldn't be like, praise Jesus, kind of thing. Like, no, it'd be like, have a good day. So, like, I understand it's more PC to say happy holidays, and that's fine too. But as long as someone's wishing you something, like, enjoy your day, I don't understand why, like, if you don't practice it, that's fine, but don't, like, take it for the positives from it. Don't take the negatives that you might see from it, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. And,
like, actually, I liked a couple things you just said, so I might segue off of them real quick.
That's fine.
But, the holidays, for a lot of us, I think we're very lucky. We love our families. Our families love us. The holidays is something we look forward to because we get to be with these people at this special time of the year. Mm-hmm. Then there are other people that don't necessarily have that. And the holidays, the reason why I bring up the holidays is because for so many of us, this is like one of the most joyful times in the years. And then for other people, this is one of the loneliest times. True. Because they're by themselves and it's time where everybody else is together, And real quick detour. Mm-hmm. There's that song by Collective Soul, 90s band. Had a lot of really good music, but they had this one song called The World I Know, and it's kind of like talking about this, like, and I think it's actually more applicable today than it was back in the 90s, but they were basically talking about how, like, where's the kindness gone, where's this gone, and blah, blah, blah. And I love the song, and I was looking at the comment section, and there were a couple of people that said, and there's no reason to lie about this because it's anonymous and everything, they're saying, there was a time in my life where I was going to end it, and I heard this song on the radio, and it gave me they gave me enough to get through it. And I got thinking about that, like, well, if that person hadn't heard that song, would we be reading this person's obituary, And so you never know how close people are to, not going on.
Right.
And then going back to the other thing Brett said that I liked is when I went to school in Long Island, there's a lot of Jewish people down there. And, Hanukkah and Christmas usually fall around a pretty similar time frame.
Yeah.
So, and this isn't true of every Jewish person because there's different groups of Jewish people, yeah. But, like, if you see, somebody with a yarmulke on or whatever, that they're Jewish. Mm-hmm. And so when I would interact with them, because I knew that they were Jewish, I would make the effort to say Happy Hanukkah because I want to recognize that that's a special time of year for them.
For sure.
But also, like you said, even though for Hanukkah it is absolutely a religious holiday, where, like, Christmas is a religious holiday, but then it's also a secular holiday.
Yes.
So when you're wishing Happy Hanukkah to someone, you are wishing them in their faith, like a religious, like, goodwill. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But where was I going with this? If I absolutely know what somebody's background is, like if it's Hanukkah or whatever, I'm definitely gonna wish that to them because I want to let them know that one, I support their ability to celebrate that time frame, but then two, I want to let them know that I wish them the best during that time frame. Merry Christmas, I think, like you said, like amongst my family who I know, like, are in myself, like the people that I know are church going, or like people at church when I'm there for Christmas and I'm saying Merry Christmas to them, and I definitely intend it that way. But if I see like when I was buying something the other day at a store and the lady says Merry Christmas and I say it back, I don't know what her background is, but I'm just saying, like, for this time of the year, I hope it's good for you. Mm-hmm. And I had one person once, and I don't know if it was in New York City or whatever, where I said, oh, Merry Christmas to you, and I don't know, they snapped something like, I'm not Christian, or I don't celebrate Christmas. I'm like, it doesn't even matter, man. I'm just hoping that, I'm just saying I hope that this is a good time for you, you know? But instead of getting in a tiff with them about this, I was just like, okay, well then, you know, happy holidays, whatever. And I was just like, I don't know why you had to flip out. Like, it's like, so like there's people, like I said, that are Jewish that maybe don't wear the garments or whatever, and you wouldn't know that they're Jewish. Right. If you say Merry Christmas to them, you know, and I'm not Jewish, so I can't speak to it, but if I was, and somebody said that to me, and I know that they have no way of knowing, I wouldn't get offended by it. It's because, you know, how are they going to know? Right. And number two, they're wishing me well. If they knew I was Jewish, they would say Happy Hanukkah, you know?
And that's another just even small thing, like you mentioned, was going out of your way to do or acknowledge whatever they're celebrating or doing. Like, that's it's such a small thing to do, but can go the farthest. Like, I care enough about you to know what you're doing. Yeah. And so here's my effort towards that. Yeah. Like, you don't have to rub it in their face, like, you know, kind of thing. But, like, it's a nice gesture. Yeah. To know that and then do something about it. Not just be like, yeah, well, good for them or whatever. So, yeah. It goes far.
Yeah, no, you know, it's, just consider if you're somebody like Brett and I that love the holidays and we look forward to it, just recognize that maybe not everybody's like that, or maybe not as fortunate to have that, and just go out of your way to, especially this time of year, because of how lonely and sad it can be for certain people, just make sure whoever you run into, try to be the light of their day for that day, even if it's only for a moment. Just give them something where they can sit down in the middle of the night and go, you know what, I did meet one nice person out there, you know, it's not all bad.
Right. And to build on what I was saying about, like, that little extra effort, like, I know we've been kind of on a holiday focus, but it separates the how's your day to, oh, how's so-and-so, this and that, like, specifics. Like, it's a small difference. They both mean well, but this one just has that little bit more oomph and impact. Yeah. That, like you said, if somebody is feeling that down and you hear that, oh, somebody cares about what's going on with my dad, somebody cares about what's going on with my job or my pet or whatever it is, like, it doesn't even have to be the biggest thing, but, like, it's, sometimes it means a lot that you remember certain facts about some people. And it's not a bad thing to just say, like, hey, how's your day? Or I hope you're doing well, things like that. But, like, that little extra sometimes means a lot. And you don't even maybe not mean it to mean a lot, but it can.
Well, and the funny thing is I like that you said that, because I was reading, or when I was in college still, I went to visit my aunt out in California, and right near her home was the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library. So you can go there and see all of his personal stuff that, you know, was saved. Like, you could see his, like, football cleats he wore in some movie he was in and whatever. But one thing I kind of learned about him that I've tried to copy in my life, especially when I'm at work, is every time he would meet someone and he kind of had a feeling that this was somebody he was going to see again or need to work with, he would always try to remember one or two facts about them, like that they had a dog, or like a wife with a name, you know, whatever her name was. Yeah. And then that way, every time he would meet that person, he would have one absolute fact that he knew about them, and he would say, hey, like, how's Marge, your wife, doing, and whatever. Yeah. And the guy would be like, oh my God, this is the President of the United States, and he remembers my wife's name, you know. And whether you liked him or not, or his politics or not, people from all around different spectrums of politics loved that about him, that he would actually take the time to remember something. And I don't know if you remember Mr. Hengsterman from high school. Yeah. He met Bill Clinton when Bill Clinton was a president, like, early on. And Bill Clinton, like, was shaking his hand because he was in the line. I don't know if it was like he was meeting with teachers from New York or whatever it was. So he said, well, hi, what's your name? He says, well, I'm Richard Hengsterman, you know. And Bill Clinton looked at him and he goes, do you mind if I call you Ricky? And he goes, oh, that's fine, Mr. President. You can call me Ricky, whatever. What are you going to tell the president now?
No.
But there was something like a year or two later where Hanksterman was at some event or something, and Clinton was there. And he saw Hanksterman when he was shaking hands with him, and he said, Ricky, how you doing? It's like, this dude actually remembered. And it's not like the Secret Service or some like assistant are gonna like keep track of this guy because he's just some random guy. But he knew, and I've heard this about him, like his ability to remember people. I mean, can you imagine what that would do to you if this guy who met you once for a second comes up to you and goes, "Hey Brett, how's it going? Like, how's Pays?" And you're just like, "Dude, you're the president. Why would you?"
Who cares?
So I mean, like, I'm not like necessarily a huge fan of Bill Clinton, but like it's just such a great thing to just remember, and it just lets people know you care enough to remember something about them. It's more than just a hello. And then, kind of going off that a little bit, our generation or our new era, we've gotten away from doing little things that I think we do not really understand how much that they are needed. One of those things was when I was a kid, my parents were huge on the three of us kids writing thank you notes. And sending them to people whenever they gave us a gift or something. And now it's just like a gut instinct of mine that when I get a gift from somebody, I write them a thank you note. Now, people don't really do that today. They'll send a text or something. Yeah. But it's kind of like the same thing about remembering something about someone. By writing that out and taking the time to write it out, you're letting a person know that not only did you appreciate it, you appreciated it enough to take the time to send that note, and it's just a little bit more. Either way, they appreciate, like, if you were to call them or text them and say, hey, like, yeah, I really appreciate that. But when you take the time to do something like a little thing like that, might seem like a little thing, might only take you 3 minutes, but to them, that's a huge deal. So yeah, never underestimate how such a small thing can be such a real big thing. And it's nobody's fault that we, a lot of people don't do that anymore. It's just, it's a changing of culture. It's a changing of, people don't really write stuff anymore, but just like a little example of what I thought of, kind of going off what you said, just putting that little extra effort in with people makes a huge difference.
For sure.
So that's like my mini topic that lasted a little bit longer than I thought it was going to.
That's how it usually works. 2.5 hours? Oh wait, that was last week.
Yeah. But then, like, I feel like our next topic we can almost kind of share the floor on, because I feel like we've got pretty similar. I don't know.
We had similar ideas, approaches, maybe. My Little Pony.
Oh.
Okay.
No, I can't say I've seen it.
Alright, topic 2. So yeah, like Kev said, it's kind of a shared topic that we kind of just talked about downstairs before recording and going live. I think it's... Okay, I had a word for it, but apparently it's not the right word, or not a good word, which I agree.
Well, no, I think you could use it. You just have to explain like the real context, because I think if you use that, people will get what you're getting at. Because I understood what you were saying. It was just, there's a word out there, and if I had a dictionary, I'm sure I could find it, but I don't remember.
Right. Okay. So the terminology I used was selfish. I think people need to be more selfish, but I mean that in a way where they need to not be so invested in everyone else's life and what they're doing. What I mean by that is everybody in this world, wherever they live, they have different opinions, they have different choices, they have different views, religion, politics, whatever. We're all different. I think people, egocentric, maybe, I don't know. Anyway.
We're getting closer.
We're like tiptoeing on it.
We'll figure it.
We'll get it. I think people need to be a little bit more selfish in that they need to focus on them and not so much what other people are doing and what they think is quote unquote wrong. Now, are there clear and cut wrong things to do? Yes. Don't kill people. Don't hurt people. Blah, blah, blah. Other stuff. But, for example, simple example. Kev likes this game. I like this game. no, your game sucks. You should like my game. Like, it's the stupidest thing, putting it in layman's terms. But you can put it across the map and you see it happen all the time. And the biggest example that we probably won't dive into is politics. But people, killing someone's wrong? Oops.
Depends on the state. As I understand, it might be okay in Alabama. I don't know.
Don't live
Those
there.
people
I
are
can't
crazy.
Tell you. So yeah, the biggest thing we can say is politics. Like, obviously, as of recording this podcast, date and time, we have a certain president that is very,
Less than polished?
He's not really preferred by a good margin of people, but some people like him. And it caused a big, giant fucking rift every time it comes up. So, there's nothing wrong with either side. Divisive. Thank you. Divisive.
Now that see that divisive. Yeah,
divisive.
That's a word.
Yeah, I know that. There's nothing.
I've seen it.
There's nothing wrong with liking this side or liking this side. It's a matter of people just saying, no, your side is wrong. In any respect, not just politics, and not just worrying about them. Like, I think sometimes people are so focused on other people's shit that they don't know what's going on with their own life, or they can't fix the problems that they're having. Because, let's admit it, we all have problems with anything. It could be a big problem, it could be a small problem. And there's not always a visible solution to that problem. Like, sometimes it does take a little bit more work in figuring out what to do first and then doing that thing. And it can be frustrating. But I think we're using the energy we should be using to fix our own problems and putting it somewhere else that it shouldn't be. So that's my thing. It's just like, I think people need to focus more on their own things and not be so invested in others. Self-centered might be the phrase.
Yeah, I think that's a little closer to the mark. Because I think selfish just has a bad connotation.
For sure, yeah.
And that's not what he was going for. The thing... I won't say my location on the political spectrum.
No, you don't.
But I think, and Brett kind of brought it up a little bit earlier with the holiday greetings. We've entered into a time where people are very politically correct.
Yes.
And I understand what the knee-jerk reaction is to that. You know, people... I mean, I don't like saying things that hurt or bother people.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we've gotten to a point now where people aren't allowed to speak freely because of this. And it's like... I can't remember what it was. Like, some college out in California, like a very conservative person was invited to speak at their school. And the students there didn't like what this person had to say, and they actually rioted and were burning cars and stuff. Like, okay, whether you agree with the guy or not, you have in this country, you do have the right to think what you want to think, and even if it's the one where I have a hard time with this is the neo-Nazis or the KKK. You know, these guys, they say the stupidest stuff. I think 98% of the country would agree that what they're saying does not represent what America is about, and or at least should be about. But they have a right to say what they think they need to say, whether you and I agree with it or not. And
if we want that right, we have to give them that right. And it's not saying that it's right or wrong, which you just said, literally.
Yeah.
It's just, you're fine. There's a good side of things and there's an unfortunate shitty side of things, and that's...
Well, and actually, I heard a really funny story once.
Oh, okay.
And I love this because it just shows that certain people in government can have a really good sense of humor. Mm-hmm. There was some town, I want to say in Illinois or Indiana, called Skokie.
Okay.
And back in the 90s, I'm sorry, this is a different story. Going back to the one I was thinking of.
Yep.
There was a KKK chapter. When you're driving around, it says you can adopt this highway.
Yeah.
So you clean it up and whatever. Mm-hmm. So this KKK chapter decided they wanted to adapt a highway,
Yeah.
but the government didn't want to allow, the local government did not want to give that to them,
Yeah.
but they can't really block them because they do technically have a right to be this group or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave them the right to that highway, but in a very, instead of burning cars and causing all these issues, they did something that I think is so freaking funny and so great. They renamed that highway Martin Luther King Jr. Highway, so now these total racist tool bags have to clean up a highway after one of the greatest African Americans we have had in this country. And I just think that's such a great way to handle it, because you're not causing any violence, but you're also kind of letting these people know, like, we don't agree with you. You have the right to be that way, but we don't agree with you. And, again, I think it's a little bit humorous in a way, not against Martin Luther King, but against that other group with the pillowcases on their heads. So I was anybody that's ever been online knows that some of the worst stuff gets said.
For sure.
Online. And like you were saying with video games, you read the comment section on a video game review on YouTube, and the stuff that gets said on there, you would think that they were talking about neo-Nazis or something, with the anger on there. It's like, no, fuck you, this game received a 9.5 on GameSpot or whatever. It's like, whoa, relax, it's a video game.
It's unfortunate because it's everywhere too. So, back in August, I was on the Kind of Funny podcast, and we talked about me for the first 45-minute block. And then there was the recent shooting that happened in Florida at the Madden tournament.
Yeah.
So they first asked, would you be okay if we were talking about this? And I said, yeah. Your game's media. I think people want to hear your opinion on it. So I was like, yeah, sure, go for it. Now, during this section, I respectively sat back because I didn't have a lot to say, and I didn't feel like I'd have anything to add or take away. I wasn't educated enough, I guess you could say, to really implement, or I felt that way. So I kind of, sat back and just took it in. So, all recorded, whatever. They talked about gun control, and that came up, and, whatever. And there was one person was very set in his ways. No guns. Because of something that had happened in his past.
Yeah, sure.
His friend's father got shot down and killed. So he was very decisive on that. I went to go look at the comment section because I'm like, hey, it's my podcast. Let's see how people liked it. La la la. There was some cool comments about me. I'm like, yeah. And then there was the just unload of shit like, oh, Tim's an idiot. Tim dead and dumbass and fucking you should do this. And I'm like, whoa. All right. Now, I didn't know about Tim's situation until after because his mom commented too and said, guys, I understand. Just got to remember Tim's background here. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I understand it now. But, holy crap, the amass of just, like you said, hot garbage just in that comment section. I get it, guns are a hot topic too. I don't care. As long as you're not hurting anybody or things like that, I don't know. For me personally, I don't give a shit. But I know people have their own things on that.
Well, and on that particular thing, I have my own certain beliefs about that, and I had actually a family member of mine after the one in that high school in Florida knew I felt a certain way about it, and they called to ask me, because they kind of like you were like, I don't really know enough about this to say anything, what's your opinion on this? So I gave them just a list of straight facts. I wasn't putting opinion on it. I just said, well, look, this is what I've read about. I can't say that this is totally 100% the truth, right? But so far what I've read, it makes sense to what I'm seeing, and I gave them some facts about it. And at the end of the conversation, they thanked me, and they're like, oh, it's good to know these. I didn't know these things before, blah, blah, blah. And it was a very rational, very unemotional. It was just like, look, I think this. I think because of these statistics here, blah, blah, blah. And we ended up having, I think, a very beneficial conversation. And again, to bring up Reagan, he had a guy who was in Congress that was very, very opposite of his politics. But so whenever he wanted to get something done that he knew this guy wasn't maybe going to agree with, he would invite him over to the White House for a steak dinner. They would sit there and they would talk it back and forth. And he'd say, look, I know you might not agree with me, but this is why I'm going to do it. This is why I want to do it, whatever. And that guy said, his name was, Tip O'Neill. Tip O'Neill was the Reagan's opponent guy. He came out at one point and he said, you know what? Every time I come away from one of these dinners, I either appreciate what he had to say and agree with him now, or I still don't agree with him, but now I understand why he felt that way, and I think we can find some common ground. Yeah. And that's beautiful. Yeah, and we've lost that. And like going off the PC thing, because I'm always on tangents.
It's fine. It's the way. What are we talking about back?
I get the knee-jerk reaction for a politically correct society. I understand it. I think it's natural that we don't want to offend people.
For sure.
But at the same time, if something is the truth, right? Like we said earlier, there's objective truth. Like killing people is always wrong, right? When there are truths that people maybe don't want to acknowledge because it doesn't fit their worldview or whatever, just because it might bother them, I don't think that means you don't say the truth. Especially when it's something so cut and dry.
Yep.
And the big issue I have with the current person in the White House is I've heard him say all the time on TV, like, oh, I'm not politically correct, blah, 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 and then he'll, like, go and insult people.
Right.
And here's I am all for not being politically correct in a respectful way. If you feel that something is the truth, especially if you're in government, you have to say what you're thinking, because that's what we put you up there for. You gotta say what you're thinking so that people know what you're up to, whether they support you or not. But you don't have to do it disrespectfully. There's a difference between being politically incorrect and just being an asshole.
Right.
Right? So like if Bret and I disagree on something, and let's say it was something like, black and white, like there is right and wrong, and I tell Bret, no, you are wrong, and this is why you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. I can do it in a way where I don't demean him. And that's where I wish I could kind of talk to this individual and say, hey, listen, bud, like, I get what you're saying is important to you, and I get it's important to a lot of people, but you don't have to be so, I don't know what the good word is. I don't want to say offensive because that's it. I don't know. You don't have to be so antagonistic towards people. If you don't agree with somebody, just let them know you don't agree with them. Let them know what your perspective is, and I don't know. Just do it respectfully. It's not hard to be respectful to people. I've met people from my work because I go all over the world. I meet people of all different types of political, religious, whatever. Yeah. But I have to work with all of them. So if these conversations come up, there are ways to have conversations with people where you don't attack their, like you were saying with the guy from Kind of Funny. There's a reason why he feels that way. Yeah. And like with any political belief, people have a very personal reason why they feel that way. I went to school with a guy, if you remember back in, I think it was 2013, that guy went into the movie theater in Colorado and killed people at the Batman movie. One of the kids I went to school with in my class, dad was in that theater and got killed. Now, I don't know what his views are on, let's say, the gun debate. But if he came up to me, hypothetically, and was having an argument stating he's against guns, if I was like, let's say I was exactly the opposite of him, I would not go after what he believes because he has a very personal reason. It's because of what happened to his father. And you have to respect that. Whether you agree with it or not, people have reasons. And to not respect their reasons is basically to tell them what you think, what you've experienced doesn't matter, and that's wrong. Everybody's experience and ideas, whether they're in agreement with you or not, everybody has their reasons, and what they think matters. And so you have to be, you have to just be cordial, you have to be respectful, and then that way, at least, let's say Bret and I are having a discussion about something that we disagree on. And let's say Bret's being like super realistic, rational, you're not being a dick, but I'm doing the exact opposite. I'm attacking you, I'm calling you a tool, all this stuff. And let's say there's people there that are listening to us. Even people that don't agree with you and aren't going to agree with you by the end of that discussion,
right?
At least they're going to walk away and go, you know what though, he handled himself respectfully.
Yeah.
I don't agree with him, but he definitely came off the better person.
Just like the dinner conversation.
Exactly.
Like, there's nothing wrong with agreeing to disagree. That's the thing
Absolutely.
too. Nobody's like, we're not telling you have to, not accept. We're not saying you have to tit for tat, switch your opinions, totally agree with the other person, whatever. If you feel not obligated, if you feel inclined to do that, like your opinion changed based on the conversation that you guys had, then yeah, good for you. Cool. If you're still at the opinion you had prior to the conversation, that's fine too. But if you're able, like Kev said, to have a civil conversation about it, explain what you feel and listen to how they feel, that's fine. That's how we move forward and not just bicker at each other and stand still, or worse, go backwards. And there's a lot of bickering going on.
Well, it's funny, like you were saying, like not pushing like personal beliefs or politics or religion or whatever. I do have a couple of like faith-based stickers on my truck.
Mm-hmm.
One of them's kind of funny. I mean, at least it cracks me up, but I also have a corny sense of humor. It just says plainly, "My boss is a Jewish carpenter." Right? Now, like, that cracks me up. I don't know. It's just kind of funny. But so, I've had a couple of people, like, at the big red light intersection in Wilton.
Yeah.
I was in the far right lane, and somebody was in the left lane, and I see them in the side view mirror kind of, like, stop here.
Yeah.
And they're definitely reading it, and then they kind of pull up, like, looking at me with a smile on. And it's one of those things, like, if somebody wants to, like, roll down their window and ask me about it, I have absolutely no problem telling them what the story behind the bumper sticker is, why I have it, blah, blah, blah. But if somebody's, like, super pissed off about it, like, oh, you damn Christian, whatever, that's whatever, it's your opinion. But I kind of find stuff like that is a great way to communicate things, because you're not pushing people to agree with you, but you're also opening the door for a discussion. And I don't know. Plus the sticker just cracks me up every time I go to my truck. I don't know. It's my really corny sense of humor, but I kind of find I was watching a really interesting discussion between a person who was Muslim and a person who was Jewish, which if you hear anything in the news at all, that's a very conflict-driven discussion between those two groups. But I was able to watch these two have a really polite, respectful conversation, and I'm sitting there thinking, why can't it always be like this? You're not going to come away and go, you know what, I don't want to be Jewish anymore, I want to be Muslim. You're probably not going to be that way if you're Jewish, but you can at least sit there and say, you know what, he actually had a lot of good points, and I should look into it. Why can't we just, I don't know. I'm just a big believer in just being courteous to people, regardless of what their belief is. And if it gets to a certain point where you're like, dude, this is like bashing my head against the wall, just politely extract and say, you know what, I appreciate what you have to say, I'll take it into consideration, maybe we should talk about this again sometime, even though you don't mean that at all.
100%. Like, you don't have to end it poorly. Like, that's perfect. Yeah, even if I'm not getting anything out of this, then yeah, just be kind, be polite about it, and you can still get out of it. You don't have to cause a fight over it and leave it at that.
Well, I was in Norfolk once, and there was like a little sailor bar near the port. So I was in there after work, eating some food and having a beer or whatever, and this guy I worked with knew I had certain, religious beliefs or whatever, and he had way too much to drink, so you have to also take that into account. Like, he's not his normal self right now. He's acting differently than he normally does, because this is a guy I really enjoyed working with on a daily basis. So he started going after me about my beliefs. So thankfully, I was at a good state of mind where I could realize this guy's saying things he wouldn't normally say and just keep it respectful. So he's just laying offensive things at me, and attacking me, and blah, blah, blah. I just answered what he said over and over and over again, just kept it polite and everything. And at the end of the conversation, he looks at me and goes, you brought up some good points. I hadn't really thought of that stuff before. That's interesting, blah, blah, blah. And he still did not agree with me. But, you know, as he told me later on, because he apologized the next day because he could kind of remember bits and pieces of what happened and blah, blah. He says, you know, I respect you for defending what you say, not just caving in, but you didn't go after me. I was like, look, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I heard a comment once, and I think it applies to anything, politics, religion, whatever. The comment was something like, you can win the argument, but lose.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, if I just keep bashing Bret on something over and over until he finally just gives up, I might have won that argument, but I've potentially lost a friendship or a relationship, and I didn't actually win, because Bret still probably doesn't agree with me.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's just keep these things in mind, you know, I guess.
Yeah.
That's like our general message is,
don't be so invested in others.
yeah, like, if you're like, goodness, it's like those people that used to go to the soldiers' funerals, like, with the really offensive signs about, like, gay people and stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, if you feel that way, if that's, like, your personal beliefs, like, okay, fine, but why do you have to go, like you're saying, why do you have to go invest time in shoving that down other people's throats? Why can't you just, like, if you think the rest of us are terrible people and we're all going to burn or whatever, mm-hmm. just go live in your community and not interact with us. Like, why do you...
Laugh at us later, if you're right.
Yeah, like, if we're all burning, like, well, you know, good on you, whatever, but, like, yeah, why do you have to go, off your point, your original mm-hmm. point, why do you have to go force and make other people... And I think that's where... I think, honestly, I was talking about this with my dad the other day, on a similar issue. Mm-hmm. I think it comes down to, like, an insecurity. Like, you're not actually truly comfortable with what you believe, mm-hmm. but you think the more people that agree with you, the more you must be right. Mm-hmm. Why not just be self-confident and say, this is what I believe, this is what I think. If people don't agree with me, that's fine, but this is what works for me.
Yeah, I saw, okay, going off of that, I've seen a recent example of this on a TV show. So, I was watching, I'm not sure if you know the show Mom. It's on, like, CBS or whatever. It's got Anna Faris.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So, they had an episode where she was dating a vegan guy. Mm. And, like, you know, they've been depicted like, oh, like, you have to have my lifestyle or I'm better than you, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's the kind of thing. Like,
oh, yeah.
You can do, if you choose to be vegan, good. If you choose to be vegetarian, good. If you choose to be, you know, eat meat, that's fine, too. Like, do that. You don't have to be that person who's like, oh, well, I'm doing better than you. Here's this thing or whatever. Like, sure, you can share your experiences from it, but don't be the asshole who's like, you gotta do it my way, man.
Well, it's like, alright, so, just going off that point, it's like, just because it's what I'm familiar with, mm-hmm. Like, for example, my religious beliefs.
Yep.
They give me my guidance to get through my day.
Yep.
It gives me my strength to make it through things, whatever. And it's a very personal thing. Mm-hmm. And to me, if this is what gets me through, and I know it's truth in my life, you don't have to be that way because, I mean, like, you being that way or not being that way doesn't make my choices any different.
Right.
You know? Mm-hmm. Like, you could be over here, like, all Satanist, with, like, killing babies, whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
If my beliefs are good for me and they're getting me through, like, if I turn you or not, it doesn't make my lifestyle any more sufficient for me or not. You know, like, I don't get this need to, like, be like, you know what, I like sports. People are big on this.
Oh,
sports,
yeah.
especially, like, college football, right? Because I've been watching a lot of college football, and you get these people that are, like, diehard one school, mm-hmm. and it, like, what's the big one? Alabama-Auburn. It's, like, one of the biggest rivalries in sports. And one of the two colleges, I can't remember which, has, like, this big tree, like, mm-hmm. big, beautiful tree on campus. And before every game, they, like, gather around the tree and have, like, a pregame ceremony. One of the fans from the other school killed the tree.
Oh,
like, put poison in the roots or something and killed the tree. It's like, what the fuck? Like, you can't just be happy that you're that one school's fan. Like, why do you have to go and kill this tree that's, like, 100 years old or something? Like, what the fuck?
I don't have anything as sinister as that, but...
That's just weird, right?
Yeah!
I mean, like, why be that invested in a college sport?
I don't give a shit about hockey. I enjoy watching hockey. You know, it's fine.
You watch your goddamn mouth.
I know. My girlfriend's a big fan of the Avalanche. And whenever she's watching a game and we happen to be on a phone call or something, and she's always reacting to the game like, oh man, I hope those Carolina Hurricanes are doing work. And I just tease her because I know she cares about it. I honestly don't give a shit, but I'm just having fun about it. It's just like, oh boy.
No, I mean, it's like, I was walking somewhere, I don't know if it was California, but I was wearing a Red Sox hat. And some, like, New York transplant that lived in California that's a Yankees fan yells over and goes, hey, fuck Boston and fuck you. And I'm sitting there going, I would never... Alright, let me just put this out on the record. I despise the Yankees. I really do. And most of the fans that I've met are total dickheads. But would I ever actually go out of my way to, like, yell across the parking lot to a guy and be like, yo, fuck New York, man, like, fuck you in your pinstripe uniforms? Like, no, like, to be honest, like, when it comes to sports, like, somebody like the Yankees and Red Sox, one of the oldest rivalries in sports, right? It's not fun if the other team isn't good. Alright, so, like, for this year, for example, the Yankees and the Red Sox met in the playoffs. Okay. And it was... I mean, there was really tense moments as a fan where I'm like, oh my god, I wonder if we're going to make it through this series, But that's what makes it fun. Yeah. Like, when the Yankees are good, and we're good, and we beat them, it makes that more special. Because it's not like you beat up, like, a really terrible team. Like, it's like, if you're the New England Patriots and you crush the Cleveland Browns last year,
who cares?
Now, like, if you're the New England Patriots and you beat the Packers with Aaron Rodgers, okay. Good win. Good win on you, But, shout out to my boys, the Browns, though. Baker Mayfield is killing it. I love that kid. I freaking love that kid.
I know they got the first win. I haven't paid attention since, but I hope Billy's happy.
I was watching one of their games this season where, like, their offensive line is terrible. I mean, it's just objectively terrible. And you just see it break apart, and the defense is running at the quarterback, and he just goes, well, fuck it. He takes the ball, and he runs for like 40 yards.
Nice.
And I'm sitting there going, oh, shit, my man Baker, he's killing it. Totally unrelated to this topic, but I would never poison a tree, though. What the fuck? Yeah, no, I mean, like, it's good if you're an Avalanche fan, even though they're terrible. But don't feel the need to go fuck with other people over sports. It's like, who's actually worse than us? In the UK, with soccer. I was in Scotland. I was in Glasgow, actually. So, like, Scotland has their own soccer league, the Scottish Premier League, right? And yes. Celtic and Rangers are it's like their Yankees and Red Sox rivalry, right? So when they play, it's like the whole city of Glasgow shuts down because it's like, oh shit, like the game, it's happening, So we were there for that day, and we didn't know because we're just American, What do we know about soccer? We call it soccer. We don't even call it football. But people are marching through the streets in, like, they have these gangs that are, like, called hooligans or whatever, like soccer hooligans. And they're, like, in gangs looking for hooligans from other teams to get in fights with. It's like, we're marching down the street in Glasgow, and we see this green and white clad group of Celtic fans, like, chanting their, like, team song or whatever. And so we go into this restaurant, and there was a bathroom in there that, like, it was actually kind of cool. It's like a tile wall, and you pee on the wall, and it goes down to this, like, lower trough in the ground that's not, foot level, but, it goes down.
All right.
So I'm in there peeing, and I feel this, like, I hear that, like, there was, like, those old saloon doors in the westerns that go like that? They had those in the bathroom, and I hear those kind of creak open, so I'm like, oh, somebody's, else taking a pee, whatever.
Yeah.
But then, like, I feel, like, somebody right here.
Oh, God.
And, like, I could feel hot breath, and I'm like, the fuck? So I look, and there's this Scottish dude who's drunk. He's just like, and he looks at me and goes, Celtic or Rangers? And I'm like, now, if you're an American in this situation, always say, I don't watch soccer, because then they just leave you alone because they know you have absolutely no idea. I made the mistake of picking a team, and I was wrong. I said Celtic or something. He goes, oh, fuck you then, the Celtic are all terrorists. Like, he's, like, calling the other fans terrorists, right? And, like, I was like, well, I'm sorry, like, I don't really watch soccer. I just picked a team. He goes, damn Yankee or something like that, and then he like walks away, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. But then we're at the front of this bar, and there's a big plate glass window, and this fan that's in like the blue and red of the Rangers comes up, drops their pants and sticks their ass cheeks on the window, and then flicks everybody off in the bar and runs off, and then everybody from the bar runs out to go kick their ass. Like, it is worse than American sports.
Man.
It is worse than American sports. People die almost every year at Manchester games.
Jeez.
Because like how intense it is, and I'm just sitting there going, oh my god, why? I mean, of course, there's always that one Bills fan that gets really drunk, falls out of the stands, and dies.
Mm-hmm.
What else are you gonna do in Buffalo? You know, I mean, I get it, you know, but you know, it's yeah, killing a tree. Why? What did that tree do to you? I'm pretty sure they've never put on a jersey and killed your team. I mean, like, ugh.
So yeah, people need to worry about their own shit.
Yeah, just be happy with your own choices and respect other people's choices.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't mean that their choices are right, but you don't have to attack them for them.
Right.
You know, and if they want to talk to you about their choices, just be helpful and listen. I don't know.
So all you gotta do is listen. That's
all you gotta do. Be overall message, I think, of this podcast. Be respectful to people.
Yep.
Care enough about them in your interactions to maybe give them some hope.
Yep.
You know, even if you really don't like the person, don't be a dick. Just like be decent. Like,
mm-hmm.
You know what? Fuck it. The slogan of today's podcast: be decent. If you wouldn't do it to or in front of your grandmother,
mm-hmm.
don't do it. That's a pretty good metric, I think.
Yeah.
Because like you were talking about traffic. I was trying. I have a temper in traffic. I do, and it's something I'm working on. But I'm getting on the Northway,
mm-hmm.
and you know your acceleration lane. You're supposed to be getting up to 65. I'm behind this car that will not go above 40, and I'm getting heated.
Mm.
My blood is boiling, and I'm sitting there going,
mm-hmm.
you know. So finally, I just stop on the gas, and I get around this car, and I'm about to give the person the fuck you know. And then I look, and it's like an 80-year-old woman, barely can see over the steering wheel, and I'm like sitting there going, "You're a dick."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now, I didn't know she was an old lady or whatever, but look at that though. I get irrationally angry about something, and it could be your grandma, it could be my grandma. Like, I would never get mad at my grandma for driving. I might be holding on to the side, you know, looking around, hoping I don't die, but like, don't be a dick.
Yeah.
And I was a huge dick at that moment. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, I didn't flick her off. But you know, you never know who you're interacting with and what's going on with them.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, key 2 words of the night: be decent. And do we want to have them?
Sure, fans, chat viewers, what would you like us to talk about? In the meantime, we're going to talk about booty. And why the fuck this thing exists. Why?
So, I gotta ask, who sent that?
It was a kind of funny best friend. Secret Santa, we all got randomly sent one. We were supposed to put info that we liked, like, I like this game, I like this food, whatever. So I put, like, Overwatch.
I like butts on mouse pads.
Apparently. What the hell? People are weird. But there's another thing. Be decent. Don't kink shame. Come on.
Be decent. We should have some t-shirts made.
We
Hashtag
could.
Be decent.
Not be excellent to each other. Be decent to each other.
Be excellent to each other. Hey.
Bill and Ted.
Dude,
see,
there's a lot of hidden wisdom in that movie.
You guys doubt that movie. It's life-changing.
It is.
It is!
It's like we were talking about last week, I think, the first Pokemon movie with Mewtwo in it. Dude, that shit has got philosophy jam-packed in there. Like, I challenge every person watching this right now, watch the first Pokemon movie.
Pokemon first movie.
And don't, like, what do you call it? Don't think about anything other than the philosophical points Mewtwo brings up, and I guarantee you halfway through you're going to pause it and go, holy shit.
Can we talk how I looked that up on Amazon, and now there's weird shit being recommended, and my mom pulled it up at work and then texted me, what the fuck are you shopping for? That was on you! You looked it up!
Don't forget we got pie.
Yeah, I know. Favorite present and most memorable present. Oh, God. Man, I'm bad at these because I don't remember like who got me certain things. Shit. Does it have to be a holiday present, or are we opening this up to birthday, Easter, whenever we got presents?
I would think any present.
Any present? Okay. Well, that didn't help. Okay, well, I mean, I'd say my PS2 from my parents was pretty memorable. I think it was a birthday present. It might have been a Christmas present. But, like, just thinking of, like, the path that put me on in the grand scheme of things, of, like, gaming and stuff like that. Like, that was my first console. I had a Game Boy Advance from my aunt and uncle when I moved from my original house, and then when we built this house, which, I mean, that was huge, too, because, you know, Pokemon Silver, they got me the Game Boy Advance and that. Yep. But, yeah, that was my first, like, TV at-home console, and there's a lot of games and a lot of memories that consoles, you know, created, whether it was Medal of Honor, whether it was 007 Nightfire, whether it was Marvel vs. Capcom at home, whether it's Kingdom Hearts, you know, there's a lot of games and a lot of memories that PS2 has allowed for me to have, and obviously it's turned into, from there, it was the 360, then it was the PS3, then it was the Xbox One, then it was the PS4, then the Nintendo, all spread in there, and now it's streaming and stuff like that. So, like, I would say that's definitely a huge one for me. Trying to think other examples. Big ones. I don't know, you got something you got in the brain?
I got one really awesome one.
Okay, go for it.
So when I was a little kid, I fucking loved Thomas the Tank Engine.
Cool.
Okay? Like, my entire life was Thomas. I think I had literally every toy train you could have of Thomas. I think I had, like, Thomas the Tank slippers. Like, I'm pretty sure I had sheets. Like, I was obsessed with trains in general. Thomas was just a part of that obsession. But my really, really awesome, may she rest in peace, grandmother at the time, Nana. She came up for Christmas when I was maybe 6. No, it was much earlier than 6. I would have been maybe 4, 3 or 4, and she brought a rideable Thomas the Tank train engine. And it had, like, train whistles and everything. Like, so, like, as I was riding around on this track, I'd push a button, it would make the train whistle. And she even got me, like, a little train conductor hat. And the only reason I know this in this much detail is not that I can remember it myself, but I've seen family VHS tapes of that. And I had to have been maybe 3 or 4, because I was just a little guy. But every time I'm hitting the train whistle, I would take my hand off of the gas or whatever, and I would hit the train whistle, and every time I do it, I would go like that, you know, like I was totally amazed that it was gonna make this sound every time I pushed the button. And so that was a huge deal, because even when I got a little bit older, I would take it, you could ride around off the track, so I could drive around my house on this little train. And the reason why it's really cool to me is my nephew really loves Thomas the Tank, and last year my parents got him a riding Thomas the Tank train, and watching him ride around that was just such like a cool, like, I felt really connected to him, because like that was me 23 years ago, you know. So that would be probably my, not necessarily my most favorite, but definitely the most memorable present, because that was huge at the time. I don't know.
Cool. I don't think I can top that, and I can't think of anything else.
As far as Amazon goes, woman, get your own account.
Yeah, and stop looking up creepy things that you won't buy.
I mean, now granted, Amazon does present some weird recommendations every now and then.
In general, yeah. You looked up a book. Do you want this folder? No! I don't know.
I don't remember what I bought on there one time. But the next time I go on Amazon, it said in your recommended, like, the Book of Mormon, and I go, what? And like, I looked at my purchases, like, for the last year, and nothing would have led to the decision to put the Book of Mormon on there, and I go, well, Amazon, thanks for thinking outside the box. However, the hell is that? I've never once, I don't know. It was kind of weird. But yeah, woman, get your own account.
Sir, I'm way too cheap to pay for another Amazon Prime subscription.
Well, then here's what you do. Kick her off your Prime subscription.
Or don't sign up for Amazon Prime, do all your research on a different account, and then when you find something you want to buy, you go on her account. Get the Prime delivery. So
yeah,
any
that's
weird
true.
Funky shit, is in the history of the other account, but you're not fucking up her account.
Yeah.
Unless you buy weird freaky shit, then we got a whole nother.
Which, buy what you want on Amazon. I mean, the place is Here's the thing about Amazon. It's kind of like the internet.
Oh yeah.
No, I mean, so
yeah, I get it.
I get that it is on the internet, but it's also like the internet in that anything you can think of can be found in it. So, like...
Yeah? You think so?
Like mouse pads with butt cheeks on. I mean, just know that no matter what you buy on Amazon, it's gonna lead you further and further down that
the
path.
dark web.
It's, you know what? Amazon is like a drug. Because you think about it,
I thought it was like the internet.
Look, you remember
so is the internet a drug?
Yes.
Yes.
It's kind of like when we used to have to take those DARE classes, and they would tell you, like, if you smoke weed, you're gonna end up on crack and cocaine and methamphetamine and whatever. Well, let me tell you something. The internet's exactly the same way. Because, well, the internet and Amazon are both like that, because you buy one thing, and it's innocuous. It's something small, no big deal, whatever. Mm-hmm. But then you see the recommended list, and you go, I never thought about buying that. I'm gonna buy it. Then you buy that. And then it gets weirder and weirder, but because it's by degrees of getting weirder, you get to the fully fucking weird part, and it doesn't feel that way to you because you've been inching your way there.
You're fucking assimilated.
It's like that thing,
used to it.
That like the little thing they used to say, like if you put a frog in really hot water, it'll jump out. Mm-hmm. But if you put it in water and slowly heat it up, it won't leave until it dies. That's what the internet and Amazon's like. You get a little.
You will die.
You get a little. It's like, okay, Reddit.
Oh God.
You go on Reddit. Let's say you're into video games, right? You look up like some thread on a game you've been playing, and then you're like, see another related thread that was like, oh, that'd be interesting to read about. And then you get to the point where you're watching GIFs of like monkeys like on swing sets and it seems perfectly natural. But if anybody else,
what does this have to do with God of War? But
if anybody else comes in and they go, dude, what are you doing? And it makes total sense to you while you're there. Yes. Everybody can confirm this. It is one of these black and white objective truths we're talking about. Reddit is a soul-sucking website that's amazing. I don't know. Not Brett. Well, Brett's opinion matters, and I respect his opinion because be decent, folks.
Yeah.
Be decent.
That's been what do we talk about? The episode 35. Thanks, Kev, for joining us once again. We are live over on twitch.tv/Enigma911, where you can watch the podcast live every first and third Saturday of the month, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. If you have a topic for the show, like Lady and Pie had, you can put them down in the comment section below, or you can join us on Discord. And, whatever. Fucking don't ruin the outro. You can put the comments, you can put the topics down below in the comments section, or you can join us on Discord and put in that tab right there.
This is just ending like a dumpster fire.
What was it originally? I was doing so well.
It was late.
Then you can go to the dark internet and find us on twitch.tv, where everything's blown up. So you can put a topic in there. I don't know. You can put a topic in there. Remember, guys, we are brought to you by the merch store. You can get all of your Enigma 9011 swag over there, t-shirts, backpacks, and more. And we'll see you there. Guy on the left is pissing you off. Cool.
So
sorry, be decent. Well, technically, I'm on his left, so. I am hammered. Hammered on life. Bye.
He's what?